In the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a signature sound in R&B and hip-hop specifically coming out of Virginia Beach with producers like Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo, also known as the Neptunes when they produced together, and Timbaland. This is an iconic sound that you can instantly recognize in records from Justin Timberlake, Nelly, Clips, Jay-Z, Ludacris, and even some of the Neptune stuff that they dropped as an artist. And it's a sound that I'm starting to hear come back a little bit, especially with records like Girls by the Kid Laroi and Who by Jimin. Both of those are produced by John Bellion and Ten Rock and kind of that entire team. And then even from records like Devil Is a Lie or $1 Million Baby from Tommy Richman, and Tommy being from Virginia, it's really clear to see that inspiration. And I'm excited that the sound is kind of coming back. So in this video, what I want to do is show you some of those key signature elements of that kind of Y2K R&B style and show you how to incorporate that in a modern pop R&B, pop hip hop record. So we're going to dive in and check all of that out. But before we do, my name is Austin. You're watching Make Pop Music. If you like this video, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps us out. Also, we do videos like this every single Friday at 10 a.m. So make sure that you subscribe so you see next week's video. And if you want to support us after this, head over to our website, makepopmusic.com. We'll have sample packs, preset packs, MIDI packs, courses, all kinds of cool stuff. But let's dive into the important part. Let's make this record. To jump in, what I want to do is actually start with chords. You could start with percussion on something like this, especially since that's so kind of influential for this style. But what I want to do is break down the chords, because Chad Hugo, specifically of the Neptunes, it's just really iconic for his chords and his chord style. So what I have is just a project at 99 BPM, and I have easy key so we can actually track the chord names, and then I'll swap it to a better sound later. But essentially, one thing that you're going to hear a lot in any of those Neptunes productions or any of the newer productions that I'm talking about are really dense chords and chord voicings. So like, for instance, let's say we have like this A flat minor, right? What you would normally do is add something like a seventh, add a ninth, and it gives you that jazzier, more soulful chord. But what Chad Hugo does that's really, really specifically, and Pharrell even continues this in the stuff that he produces now, is instead of you playing that A flat minor 7 like that, you're going to take that little top note, that little G flat, and what I'm going to do is bring it down. So it basically just creates what's called like a cluster chord. So instead of being nice, smooth R&B, you get something like that, feels a little bit more dissonant. And one thing that this also does is it kind of jumps to secondary notes. So we're going to play around with that dissonance. So normally you'd have like A flat minor, A flat minor, A. With the extra voicings, you're going to go A flat minor 7, and then you would normally go A major 7. But what I want to do is I want to play it with those kind of Chad Hugo-y voicings. So instead, what we're going to do is, hear how different that sounds? So we're going to go from here, and we're going to play something that has a little bit of swing. So let me go ahead and get like a Rhodes sound up, because that's really common in this genre, and we'll go from there. For the sound of this, I'm actually just using the new kind of Rhodes VST. It's the best sounding Rhodes and E-piano that I've tried, so I'm going to use that for this record. I just have this crystal clear preset, and let me show you what it sounds like. And one thing that's really important to the style is not over-quantizing everything. So I just played this live, and I'm leaving in all of the little imperfections. I don't want the velocities to all be the same. I don't want the notes to hit at the same time. I want it to have a little bit of that character. And then what I do at the end is just for the last little measure, I'm going to add in some of these cluster chords to kind of give me a little rising progression. And for those exact chords, let me bring it back up to here, to that A major 7. So we're just doing some add 9 chords. Sounds really, really great. So let's go ahead and layer this sound to make it a little bit thicker. To layer it, I just have this V8 Pro Default plus chorus, playing it an octave lower. Now what we need to do is add some of our kick and snare to kind of get that swing, get that really Pharrell kind of drum groove, especially, you know, in some of those early Neptunes records. It's just really, really important to have that groove. So I'm going to add a kick and a snare and kind of show you how we pattern those out. For the kick, it's basically just a little one-shot kick that I pulled off of Splice. Just a nice little hip-hop kick. What I'm doing is actually adding a little bit of knock. So we have the punch engaged, a little bit of saturation, air, and clipping. And it just gives you that really knocky sound that you would hear in something like $1 Million Baby from Tommy Richman. Without it, with it, just knocked super hard. Decap crushed it with that plugin. The next thing that we're doing is adding a snare on the 2 and 4. So and you can see right here that we are also kind of sticking to that non-quantized method. So we have some of the kicks dragging, we have a little snap right here that's kind of rushing, and having that slightly off the grid just gives it a bit of vibe. And it's really all about that relationship between your melodic elements and your rhythmic elements. Let's add in some hi-hats to get a little bit of that extra groove, but snare and snap of this are both coming from our Y2K pack. If you want sounds that kind of produce in this style, we do have a pack that we released a little bit over a year ago, inspired by Y2K records from NSYNC, Britney Spears, Backstreet Boys, Nelly, any of the Pharrell and Timberlake stuff. It's great for this, but I don't want to plug too much. Let's move on to hi-hats and shakers. Okay, for hats and shakers, I'm also just using little one-shots. They're out of the Y2K pack as well. Again, not on the grid. We're kind of letting that swing, especially in the records that Jon Bellion is producing for like the Kid Laroi or Jimin. Jon Bellion's super inspired by a producer named Jay Dilla of the 90s. Nothing was on the grid. Everything is completely swung. So with that kind of relationship between all the elements, we get something like this. I also just added a little tonal snare under there, but listen to how much swing and how much bounce and rhythm we have now from that kick and snare and hi-hat with that kind of Rhodes playing a rhythmic pattern. Let's go ahead and add in an 808 just to get some low end. For this 808 pattern, I want to keep it pretty simple. I'll play it with the drums. It's basically just mimicking where the kick drum is, and I'm just kind of playing the root note, so that A flat into A basically. For the 808 on this, I'm just using one out of our Y2K pack as well. That pack also comes with some Vital presets, and since this preset was literally made to be inspired by Pharrell, I figured why not use it. And then one thing that I really heard in the Kid Laroi record Girls was that under some of these initial kind of 808s, there's this really buzzy synth. I just made this one real quick on the spot in Serum. It's literally just a detuned saw wave. Just adds a little bit of urgency to that one. Now when I play all that together, and that to me is just giving it a little bit of extra momentum. So I want to add in a couple little like secondary sounds. I'm going to add in kind of like a bell to one side and then maybe like a little backings road just to give us some counter. So what I'm doing first is adding this little hit right here, and it's just happening on the little offbeat. And it's just a little pipe organ out of Omnisphere. It's not a really wild sound at all, but I have that panned out to the right. Just to give us a little bit of ear candy. And then one thing that you hear a lot in some of those Neptunes records or like Girls or any of the Tommy Richman stuff is with E-keys, you'll have like your kind of standard pattern that we've had throughout. And then what it'll do is it'll kind of layer in a nice kind of softer chord on the offbeat. So that's what we're doing right here. This little phase butter preset in the V8 is so nice. If you want to try the V8, by the way, I think I have an affiliate code. So if I do, I'll leave that in the description below. If not, no worries. It's just probably the best sounding e-piano that I've tried. So if you want to try it as well, yeah, there will be a code down there, but no pressure. Let's hear that Rhodes. And then it just kind of mimics that little 808 pattern, the boom, boom, boom. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So verse is feeling pretty good. Got that nice little rise up to take us into like a little chorus. The only thing that I still kind of want to add is some strings to kind of do a little counter melody as well. It's something that you hear in a lot of those early Neptunes records, and specifically from strings like the Triton or any of those kind of like Rumpler keyboards that they were using. They sound super digital, but they have a nice little vibe. So here's where I'm adding these little strings. I can show you the preset. It's just called Heartstrings out of that Y2K pack as well. I actually like sampled some old Rompler synths, so we have some stuff that feels like it would be from the early 90s or early 2000s, late 90s, and I'm kind of just mimicking that 808 again. Not doing anything too wild. And then for the second half of this verse, what I'm doing is where I had those little phasey Rhodes come in, I'm also adding these strings. Then I have that nice little melody kind of coming over to give us that rise. So we have heartstrings in the middle, and then what I did is took another string preset called Martin Special, panned it out one side, took another, panned it to the other side. So now we can get this really nice kind of dense string arrangement. When we solo all of those, they sound pretty great. And one thing that I do with string parts like this that are super digital is I'll use something like effects modulator or kickstart or something just to give me a little bit of what would be like automation. And so what I'm doing here is I have this little filter that's rising up. Actually, let me go ahead and open this so you can see. So right here, what I'm doing is just doing a little quarter note rise on a filter and a quarter note rise on the volume. So without it, it sounds like this. With it, sounds so much more natural, and I did that on all the strings. Strings kind of naturally rise as the player will play them, so that's one thing that I wanted to kind of mimic there. So now the verse kind of all put together should sound like this. Then we just go into this little rise. That feels pretty good. What I might do is like, let's add a couple little extra percussion things to this and then kind of see where we can go from there for the chorus. This is really where it starts to feel like a Neptunes production. It's taking some of these weird little kind of percussion sounds. These are, I think, all from our Y2K pack because I sampled a lot of the stuff that they used to use. But we have like little claves, we have little tambourines, little hat hits. So with the drums, it just gives us that extra bit of swing. Got a nice little sidechain hat right here. I don't know, just felt really nice. Got a little cowbell here. One thing that too is like when you have melodic percussion elements like that clave or that triangle or cowbell or whatever that have notes to them is pitch them around, right? So this is one semitone down, the clave is one semitone up. It just kind of helps because this cymbal's actually 7 semitones down. Because if everything feels a little bit weird, it might be because there's little tones and little notes in your samples, and if they don't fit right, they just sound strange. Then we go to that classic little Pharrell 4-beat. Now let's produce up this chorus. I'm kind of going to keep a lot of the same elements and just build off of that. Let's jump into this little chorus drum arrangement. So what I'm doing to kind of pick up the pace is adding a few more hats. The hat is a little bit busier, the cymbal is a little bit busier, and then I have this little triangle percussion loop that I found. And I have a little kind of ha breath. Mix that with a little vocal shout and this cool little like spacey downshifting synth out of Omnisphere. And then you get a pretty gnarly drum arrangement that has quite a bit of swing. Again, nothing's really on the grid here. Everything has a little movement. Everything has a little bit of pizzazz. And it adds that character. Let's get our chords and everything over here. I'm going to get an 808 over here and the main chords, and we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and talk about the synths and stuff first. So I still have that main Rhodes and that wide Rhodes doing the same exact thing. I have that organ hit and that phasey Rhodes and all these strings. And what I'm doing to kind of make this feel more like a chorus, make it feel a little bit bigger, is I kind of have this key sound that was inspired by $1 Million Baby. And So for this, it's really just a saw wave and then this kind of analog BD sign that has some sync, so it has the octave up as well. And then I'm just routing this to the cutoff and have some distortion. It's really nothing super wild. I can give this away for free if you guys want. I'll have a little free preset pack on our website that'll be linked below. So if you want some of the sounds in this, it won't be all of them because a lot of them are from some of our paid packs, but I'll throw a few in there just so you can have something in the style. And yeah, that's kind of what you get. So once we layer that up with the main synths, and then I just wanted some kind of counter melody. These are pretty kind of simple arrangements because the chord voicings are so dense, but I wanted something, so I had this little spacey Rhodes that I found in Omnisphere, and I'm just kind of using it to give me something. Just have this little vocal chop sample. Real low in there. And instrumental wise, I think that's pretty much it. So verse to chorus. One thing that I forgot to highlight, I just added one little extra snare in here, just to give us a little bit of extra length on the top end. And then other than that, that's pretty much it. We do have one little bass line here. This is the last important thing to highlight. So we kept that 808 and that buzz synth. And for this, I actually have the buzz synth like doing every single note. And then what I have is I have this little, like, it's almost like a West Coast G-Funk jumpy bass thing. It's something that you hear a lot in like $1 Million Baby or Devil Is a Lie. This is a free preset we gave away forever ago. I can package it with the stuff from this one too, so there will be a download. Kind of nice, right? So let's hear it with that relationship. It's all about that call and response between different melodic elements to really get that kind of Y2K R&B Virginia Beach sound. All right, let's get some kind of like vocals in here, I think. I kind of want to keep the verses real simple, more like Girls by the Kid Laroi, so really dry vocal up the middle, one vocal. And then for the chorus, I'll do kind of like a high falsetto Tommy Richman vibe. I don't think I'm going to go crazy with vocal production on this, actually. They're pretty simple songs. What I do want is I want to kind of do a little ooh and ah under the chorus, so I'll track all that in and then show you what we get. So let's go ahead and start with the verse. Here is what I have. It is literally like the driest vocal I could possibly get.
You got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up, sipping red wine, shooting vodka.
There's like a little bit of a slap back here, but honestly, that's it if it was completely dry.
You got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up, sipping red wine, shooting.
Very, very subtle. And then I just have some tuning. I'll tune it a little bit harder. Just set to my key. And then other than that, a little bit of compression and EQ coming out of the virtual mix rack. I have some compression going into this. It's my normal vocal chain I always use, but this is just doing like a couple dB a piece, adding a little bit of air, taking away a little bit of that low range, and then very, very subtle EQs and multi-band comping, just to kind of like put it in space. So without anything in the mix, it sounds like this.
You got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up, sipping red wine, shooting vodka. Little black dress with the Louboutin pumps, bad as fuck. I got one thing that's on my mind.
With that vocal chain, just kind of puts it in the right space, gets it in the front of the mix.
You got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up, sipping red wine, shooting vodka.
It's really not doing much. It's just that's how important it is to have like a really good vocal chain going in. So yeah, it's one vocal. And what I did is I did a little melody for this section, a little melody for the next section. Here's what it sounds like.
You got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up, sipping red wine, shooting vodka. Little black dress with the Louboutin pumps, bad as fuck. I got one thing that's on my mind. How do I get you on a night? Goddamn, that body's looking right, but I can promise it'll look better under mine. So let me tell you one time.
All right, let's go into this chorus. So the oohs and ahs are really cool. What I'm doing here is I have basically just a normal vocal chain. I have a harmonizer on it, mixes at 62%. And then for this one, I just stuck a little hole on it, straight up, no send, and it's like very slightly panned left. Now what I'm doing is harmonizing that with literally the exact same chain, panned just a little bit right, and it's playing out a harmony. Here's what they look like together. And in the mix, it sounds really, really fire. Then for the lead vocal, we're doing kind of a Tommy Richman thing here. We have the same chain as earlier, but then a little vocal harmonizer right here. Let me turn off the wet effects.
Oh, your lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom. I can keep a secret if I'm meant to.
Just kind of adds a little bit of that vibe. And then we have a vocal plate and a slapback vocal. And they're both pretty short, actually. So the vocal plate, let's go take a look at it. It is out of Valhalla Vintage Verb. It's like less than a 1 second plate. So this is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom. I can keep a secret if I'm meant to.
And I just have that kind of popped in there. Not super, super subtly, but definitely not drowning in it, especially with it being so short. And then what I did is kind of sang that vocal 2 more times for a left and a right dub. And they're not panned out that much. Like, neither of the artists that I'm referencing have a really, really wide vocal. They're only like 60% left and right.
Oh, your lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom.
With a lead.
Oh, your lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom.
Nothing is vocalized, and I left some different tuning discrepancies because one thing that I was hearing in a lot of the Tommy Richman stuff is that it sounds like there are multiple vocals happening and they're not super, super tight. It's kind of the vibe. So, altogether.
Oh, your lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom. I can keep a secret if I'm meant to. Girl, hit my line if you're trying to come through.
All right, let's get a little intro on here and then I will show you what everything sounds like. The first thing I wanted to do is have some kind of little rundown, kind of similar to the girl's intro by the Kid Laroi. So I just took that Spacey Rhodes pattern that we had earlier out of Omnisphere and just had like a nice little like 2-3 octave rundown. Just gives you that nice little shimmery, it almost sounds like chimes, which is a really cool, like fun thing to have. So that actually ends up being the only thing. And then we go into our like Pharrell-esque intro. So drums, 4 count hit, 4 count of that cymbal. And then we have that little spacey synth from earlier swelling up. And then we're just layering that kind of like West Coast bass with those $1 Million Baby keys. And you can see how dense this MIDI is. So we're not always playing roots. We're not always doing, like we're extending chords. We're not always using the most common voicings or progressions. So altogether, let's go ahead and like give this a little spin. Here is the full thing so you can hear it. Also, there will be some of the presets as a free download, maybe a couple Vital presets, maybe a couple Serum presets. So if you want those, there will be a link in the description. Go check out our website. We have tons of other free content and paid stuff. But let's go ahead and let's just hear this. Let me change this color real quick because it's going to bother me. Now we should be good. Let's give it a spin.
Got me locked up, catching my eye when you pop up. Sipping red wine, shooting vodka. Little black dress with the Louboutin pumps, bad as fuck. I got one thing that's on my mind. How do I get you on a night? Goddamn, that body's looking right, but I can promise it'll look better under mine. So let me tell you one time. Oh, your lips juicy like sweatsuit. You should come and meet me in the bedroom. I can keep a secret if I'm meant to. Girl, hit my line if you're trying to come through. Baby, to you right now. You won't really need it when the lights down. If you like a freaky, let me find out. Baby, I'm yours for the night now.
And there you have it. That is how to make a Y2K R&B song. Make a song in this style. I'm super excited that it's coming back. Huge, huge, huge shout out to Pharrell Williams, Chad Hugo, Timberlake, any of the people who kind of pioneered this sound. If you're not familiar with them somehow, go check them out. Their discography is all insane. And then like big shout out to John Bellion and Tin Rock for bringing this sound back. I don't know who Tommy Richman has been working with, but big shout out to them. If you like this video, please make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. That really does help us out a ton. It pushes the video in the algorithm. And if you want to support us, head over to makepopmusic.com. We will have those freebies available. We have other free stuff as well. We have courses. We have preset packs, sample packs, MIDI packs, tons of stuff that can get you to sound like this. So go check it out. All of the support means the world to us. It allows us to make videos like this every Friday for free. So we really, really appreciate it. But thanks for watching up until this point. I will see you next week with more content. Let me know if you have any questions down below and I will answer as many as I can. But I'll see you next time. Until then, much love. Peace.